Welcome back to the Irish Bandit channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I am your host, the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit. Today we are continuing on with my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Today we are looking at movie number 8 in the countdown. This movie came out in 1984 and it is a seminal classic. In 1984 was just a year of fantastic movies, but I think this one stands head and shoulders above the rest. It has an all-star cast, including the great Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, the late great Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, just a wonderful, wonderful cast. Sigourney Weaver as well. Just a fantastic movie, fun movie. Some of the effects don't hold up to this day, but it still doesn't take away from what a great movie this is. Coming in at number 8 on my countdown, Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters was released on June 8th of 1984. Its estimated budget was between $25 and $30 million and pulled in a worldwide box office of $295 million. It was written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, who also starred in the movie, was directed and produced by the late, great Ivan Reitman, who we just recently lost, and it stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, Harold Ramis, Rick Moranis, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, and as Walter Peck, William Atherton, who is also in The Last Samurai as well, at the very beginning of the movie. So a little connection between this movie and The Last Samurai. So a lot of the same actors are in a lot of my favorite movies. So we'll see that coming up. Cinematography by the legendary Laszlo Kovacs, edited by David Blewett. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And Sheldon Kahn. Music, great music by Ernie Bernstein. Also had the hit single Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. This movie is just a classic in every sense of the term. And like I said, 1984 was a fantastic year for movies. Just had so many great movies coming out that year. But like I said, I think Ghostbusters stands head and shoulders above all the movies. It was just such a fun movie in general. Let's just quickly, I think everybody knows the synopsis of Ghostbusters by this point. Based on his own fascination with spirituality, Dan Aykroyd conceived Ghostbusters as a project starring himself and John Belushi, who unfortunately passed away beforehand, in which they would adventure through time and space battling supernatural threats following Belushi's death in 1982. And with Aykroyd's concept deemed financially impractical, Harold Ramis was hired to help rewrite the script to set it in New York City and make it more realistic. It was released in 1984, June 8th of 1984, to critical acclaim and became a cultural phenomenon. Yeah, no kidding there. It spawned Saturday morning cartoon, a line of action figures, a sequel, a spin-off, and a movie that came out in fall of last year, I do believe. Let's see. It was well received for its blend of comedy, action, and horror, and Murray's performance often singled out for praise. It earned $282 million during its initial theatrical run, making it the second highest grossing film of 1984 in the US and Canada, and the then highest grossing comedy ever. Number one film in theaters for 7 consecutive weeks, and one of only 4 films to gross more than $100 million that year. Further theatrical releases have increased the total gross to around $295 million, which is what I said earlier. In 2015, the Library of Congress selected it for preservation in the National Film Registry, and Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. was also a #1 song. It has such an effect on pop culture and dedicated fan following. The success of Ghostbusters launched a multi-billion-dollar media franchise. This included popular animated series, The Real Ghostbusters, its sequel, Extreme Ghostbusters, video games, board games, comic books, clothing, music, and haunted attractions. It was followed by Ghostbusters 2 in '89, which fared less well financially and critically. But you see, I don't get why the second Ghostbusters movie gets the hate it does, but I'll get into that a little later on. Sequel was paused following the death of Harold Ramis in 2014, and then 2016 saw the reboot, which had mixed reviews to say the least. So, yeah, like I said, the Ghostbusters, the original movie, is a cultural phenomenon and icon. But why did I love the movie? There are so many things to love about Ghostbusters. Where do I even begin? You can start with the acting from the great cast they assembled. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Rick Moranis, Sigourney Weaver, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts. Just a great cast that meshed well together. A wonderful script from Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd. Harold Ramis was also known as a director as well. He directed Caddyshack and Meatballs, I do believe. So you had that insight from Harold Ramis as well. You had great cinematography, good special effects for some scenes. There are other scenes where the special effects are very dated, like in the building where Dana and Lewis live, when Vince Clortho gets loose, one of the terror dogs gets loose, and that the special effects for that don't look good anymore. Maybe it's because special effects have changed over the years. I don't know. But, I mean, even then, they didn't look that fantastic. But another great thing about the movie would have to be the story around it. It was just such a well-crafted story and funny, had its moments where kind of a little spine-tingling. Like, I consider this an entry level into horror movies because, you know me, I'm a huge horror movie buff. So I consider this like an entry level. If you can get past this, if you can get past Beetlejuice, you can go on to other harder horror movies. So, but Ghostbusters, yeah, like I said, it's just a phenomenon that has endured to this very day. You know, with the real Ghostbusters, I actually have the first 5 volumes and the 7th volume. I don't have the 6th volume for some reason. You had the line of action figures, and there's still action figures coming out this very day. You have even like pop figures of the original cast, the cast from the 2016 movie. The sequel series, like the sequel animated series, Extreme Ghostbusters. Reboots, sequels. Ghostbusters is still as prominent today as it ever was, and I think with the release of Ghostbusters Afterlife this past year, I think that really has helped keep it in the cultural phenomenon. Like, how can you not, you can't go anywhere and not hear Ghostbusters. So let's talk quickly about the sequels and the reboot. And where do I begin? I guess best place to start would be with Ghostbusters 2. I think Ghostbusters 2 gets a lot of undue hate. I personally think it's a good movie. It's not a great movie. It's not, I don't put it up there with Ghostbusters, but it is a serviceable continuation of the story. And yeah, okay, I guess you can look at it and say that, oh, it's just the original Ghostbusters movie with a different script and blah, 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 blah. Sure, fine, whatever. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But it's still a great movie. It's also getting the Ghostbusters back together. Do I think the original Ghostbusters had the better story? Yes, absolutely. But I really think that Ghostbusters 2 is not as bad as everyone says it is. I personally think it's great. I have not seen the Ghostbusters remake with Melissa McCarthy and Leslie Jones and the all-female cast. I know I've been saying I'm going to watch it, but I haven't watched it yet, and I don't know at this point if I am going to watch it after watching Afterlife recently. Yes, just a few weeks ago, I actually got around to finally watching, I shouldn't say finally watching because it only came out in November. I finally got around to watching Ghostbusters Afterlife, and oh, the nostalgia. They knew how to do nostalgia well. Well, it was directed by Jason Reitman, Ivan Reitman's son. So he's picking up where his papa left off, and he did a great job of it, just hitting all those nostalgic notes that we all knew from the movie, from the original movie. Just, it was great to see everybody back together for this movie. We're getting into spoiler territory here, but I think you know from one of the trailers that Dan Aykroyd is in the movie. So is everybody else, and that's all I'm going to say. We're going to keep the spoilers at a minimum. But, and what I mean when I say everybody, everybody. But if you're a Ghostbusters fan, you've probably already seen Ghostbusters Afterlife by this point. But yeah, let's talk about that moment quickly. That was such a beautifully done moment, and I'm so glad no words were exchanged in that point. Well, by one of the characters. I'm keeping this vague as possible for people who haven't seen the movie. But that moment was so moving and so beautiful, and from everyone that I've heard who I've talked to, oh yeah, that was so great, I cried. That was so great, I cried. It was so great, I cried. But that's not really hard, honestly. Especially when we talk about movie number 7 that's coming up very next week. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife was just perfect, and I think they got a good cast to go on for if they want to do any more Ghostbusters movies. Like, I absolutely love anything Finn Wolfhard is in. I'm a huge fan of Stranger Things, so, and he was also in the video for Danny Don't You Know by Ninja Sex Party. So, find it kind of weird that Dan Avidan and Finn Wolfhard look awfully a lot alike. Like, Dan Avidan could be Finn's father, and Weird Al Yankovic could be his grandfather. Go figure that one out. But yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife was fantastic. So like I said, Ghostbusters is a classic in every sense of the term, and it's the only movie that came out in the 80s on my top 10 list. So it holds a very, very special place in my heart. It's a fantastic movie. I absolutely love it. It is an all-time classic. But what did you think of Ghostbusters, or any of the movies, or the cartoon? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'd really love to hear that. While you're down there, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. In the description, you're going to see a link to all of my links, all of my social media, actually, whatever. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, my Redbubble store, where you can pick up all your Irish Bandit merchandise. Whatever you want is at the store. Don't hesitate to check it out. If you're new here, don't forget to tap that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, tap the bell and you'll be notified whenever a new video goes live. Coming up next is my 7th favorite movie. I don't have anything witty for this one. This is just a great, great emotional movie based on a great novella series by the incredible Stephen King. Be sure to join me next time for that one. Until then, I'm the Bandit. I'll talk to you again very, very soon.